Welcome back to another filter focus video. In this one, this is a request. Quite a few people wanting to see how I would go about finding second half goals. So teams that consistently find second half goals, because you can actually bet directly on that with Bet365 and many other bookmakers. I just wanted to start with one of the trends pages, and this is the half with most goals. So if you think about it, looking at these teams, we've got a lot of 100% here. Barcelona, Motherwell. If most of their goals are being scored in the second half, then it means, they're seeing at least one goal in the second half. And you've got 6 out of 6, 6 out of 6, 6 out of 6, 7 out of 7. You've got some away teams here. Pretty good rankings, to be fair. And you can see that the odds, they're usually evens or just above. And if you dig into some of these games, you'll find that there are certain trends with teams where they start slow. Or even if it's league specific, there are certain leagues that, they just start slow. There is just a general trend towards more goals being scored in the second half. I think it's a general trend in football, to be honest. As the game starts, it can be a little bit tense, can't it? Especially with something like cards as well. Unless it is a game that, really is fiery from the off, you're going to see more cards in the second half. That is a general trend for sure. So let's go to the fixtures page, and we'll start by adding a few rules here, just the standard stuff. So maybe we want to look at both teams, and we want to find teams that maybe struggle to score in the first half, or maybe they just haven't scored many first half goals as of yet. There's a few different angles that you can go at. I mean, you could try and find some home teams that are very good defensively, but they do ultimately concede. You can actually look at second half goals. You've got one at half time, draw at half time. This is an interesting one. Drawing at halftime, we could set this to 50% for both teams, and then you could hit search, have a look at the types of games, but we do want to qualify some of the goals. So in terms of goals scored in the first half, let's say that our home team, when playing at home, have scored in 30% or fewer games, and then for the away team, let's make them a defensively solid team, so that, they're going to come here to this away game and they're going to set up shop, and they're going to be pretty good at it as well. So for that, we could maybe put an average in here. Goals conceded away from home. I'm going to go 1.1. And then finally, we can actually just filter directly for half with most goals. You can see you've got BTTS in the first half and second half, if you wanted to put that in there as well. Over 0.5 goals, let's just throw that in there for both teams and say 85% or more for both teams, because if your idea for this filter is to set alerts and maybe capture some value for over 0.5 goals, which is very possible, then you want to ensure that they've not played out too many 0-0s, if any. You've got the average first goal time for and against, which is also pretty good to throw in there. And there it is, most goals first half, we don't want that. Most goals second half. Let's focus on the home team for this one, and we'll say at home, 50% of games. Now, I'm doing this off the cuff. I think that's the best way. If I plan these and, do loads of tests before I record these videos, it just becomes a bit too meticulous. And I think the best way for you to learn, if you're watching this video, is for me to just make the filter and just sort of tell you what I'm thinking, the thought process as I do it. It's a learning experience for me as well. You hit search, you find one game, okay? One game for Friday. If we click on the calendar and do next 5 days, does it bring in more games? It does. How many more games? Well, not too many. It's quite a narrow short list of games. But in these games, we have qualified, if we look at the rules again, quite a lot there, haven't we? So we know that our away teams are very good defensively, and just scanning down the league positions here, we can see we've got second place, 6th, 4th, 1st. So we've found some pretty good away teams in this shortlist, and we've got some games from Japan. Portugal seems quite popular, and we know that whilst the away team is quite good defensively, there are goals in a large majority of games for both of these teams. And we know as well for the home teams, even though they might not be as good in terms of the league position, most goals are being seen in the second half for those teams, in 50% of home games at least. So let's explore some of these games. We've got one in Japan, Saturday morning, 20th hosting 12th. And if we click on the stats, we can go straight to the timing tab. Let's look at the overall form first. So we can see draw at halftime, 62%. In terms of first half goals scored, 0.26, 0.47. Both teams have scored more goals in the second half. Again, in terms of conceding, we already know, we've already qualified that this away team is conceding, 1.1 or fewer goals per game. Let's take a look then at the results for the away team. For the home team, wow, they have not scored in 5 games. They are not playing well. But if we look at the half-time results, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games that were 0-0 at half-time. So even though this was off the cuff, we can see that it's working. The request was second-half goals. This is a game here where, especially the home team, you would expect them to, one, not win this game. They are 20th in the J3, and the away team, away from home, a couple of defeats, but it is a sea of green. And in terms of goals scored, failed to score against third in the league. A defeat to 17th in the league, which is interesting. There are more goals before half-time for the away team, but it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because those 0-0s, it's as if they have this performance ready, the home team, but come 60, 70 minutes possibly. This is another thing you can do as well. You can look at the timing of the goals. If you go to goals and then timing, let's put this to home and then away just to see if there's any difference here. So I think they've scored a few more goals, haven't they, at home, but still averaging less than a goal per game. They've conceded 1.18. So even just scanning the results, you could kind of see that. Very narrow defeats. You can see they are unbeaten at halftime away from home. And I clicked on this game because there's 34 games played, so it's a good sample size to have a look at what kind of teams are being returned from our rules. And you can see that they have conceded once away from home. That is pretty incredible. And the home team have scored just 5 goals in the first half all season at home. So yeah, if this one is 0-0 at half-time, I don't think half with most goals will be available pre-match given the league. But the data's there, isn't it? And I always find Japan to be quite reliable, especially once there is a decent sample size. And you can see, again, just to back up the rules that we were putting in, half with most goals, 6% when looking at the away form of the away team, and 18%. It's quite low. Most goals being seen in the second half in just under 60% of games for the home team and 71% for the away team. Will this one go the same way? Let me know what you think about this filter. Let me know what you want to see next as well. More than happy to take requests as I did with this one. And yeah, let's see what the weekend brings.